Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fireside Chat. I'm Brent. Pretty sure James and Scott are going to be here in a few minutes. Just before they arrive, just to let you know what's happening on tonight's Fireside Chat. Obviously, a very special Fireside Chat. It's James's first Fireside Chat. Also, it's a very special Fireside Chat. Oh, lots of smoke, sorry. Special welcome to all of you, and we're going to have a special segment of the Fireside Chat just for you guys a little bit later. But other than that, we're going to start off welcoming James. We're going to chat a little bit about the highlights that we've had over the last week or so, and then we're going to move into the last bit and a nice little special segment for all those kids there. And I think I hear the vehicle, and here they come. So here comes James and Scott, right on time. So apparently those in Kahuma Pride have laid down. They definitely showed interest in something for quite a while, but I'm secretly a little happy they didn't do anything while I wasn't there. But unfortunately they didn't hunt further. They're probably, being lazy lions, are going to sleep for a little bit before they go anywhere on and carry on hunting. But I'm sure they're going to continue to hunt tonight. Unfortunately for us, they are quite close to our northern boundary, so fingers crossed that they decide to cut in the opposite direction rather than disappearing north again. And that's where they've been for the last while. They even crossed north out of the Sabi Sands into the Manyeleti, where they were for a while, and that's why we haven't seen them for a couple of days. So hopefully they decide to hang around a bit longer this time. Oh, lots of smoke tonight, but oh, there we go, the fire's going a bit better now. That should help control the smoke. Oh, or maybe not. But so Scott and James are going to be joining us shortly, and please join me in welcoming James. Obviously I've known James a little bit longer than everyone else, so I'm always excited to have a friend working with us. Quite nice that most of us now have known each other from beforehand, and we are starting to build. And here comes the man himself.
Hello!
Hey James, welcome to your first Fireside Chat.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone.
Here we go.
We weren't too far away from you. Shall I take it out now?
No, I think we can leave it for a little bit. Build a bit of suspense.
some suspense.
So, James, how's your first week been?
My first week has been, it's been, well, yes, week and a bit, 10 days. It's been fascinating, I must say. It's been very different from taking a game drive full of 8 people on the back of your Land Rover. Sort of 4,000 or 5,000 on the back of your Land Rover is a slightly more intimidating affair, but I've enjoyed it very much. We've seen some amazing stuff this week. My first day we saw a pride of lions, the same ones we've just been looking at, and a big pack of wild dogs that came running through it. And the most spectacular part of that sighting, of course, was watching the big male wild dog standing, well, I think she may have been a female actually, standing on top of the termite mound and barking almost like a domestic dog as the lions went past. And I mean, what a privilege on your first day to experience something like that.
No, what a great start. I mean, I'm going to say I also started on wild dogs on my first day.
Well.
But James, I'm sure the viewers are really interested to know a little bit more about your past guiding experiences, where you've worked before joining us here at Wild Earth.
My past guiding experiences were, shall we welcome Scott into the circle?
You see him hiding in the corner there?
He's hiding.
Earpiece and everything sorted out. How are you doing, Brent?
Welcome.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
My previous guiding experience extended to, I've been in the area for 8 to 10 years around here. I started just north of here, about 50 kilometers on a reserve called Ngala, which is in the Timbavati and part of the Greater Kruger National Park as well. I spent 5 years there, 2.5 years as a sort of full-time guide, and the rest as a head ranger and trainer of guides. And that was mainly because I really enjoyed getting into the nitty-gritty of the bush. So what's so great about interacting with people on a continuous basis like we are now is that we get to not answer the same questions, not that the new questions aren't great to get, but we also get to go into some of the more interesting details over the course of the time that we spend with you. Then I spent 2 years just down the way there at a place called Londolozi, where I worked. I actually spent 3 years in total there, where I did a little bit of guiding, but mainly it was training, and then a lot of research in the communities outside the reserve, because people in parks in Africa is often a contested space where poverty-stricken people live outside these game reserves, and there are often conflicts that need to be mitigated, and a lot of my research was based around those conflicts and the conditions that people live in outside these areas. And other than that, I've spent 2 years working for a wildlife film company. I starred in an entirely forgettable children's wildlife show once called Get Bushwise. It's based on some superb books, and it was superbly produced, in my opinion. And I was the guide on that show, and that was my first sort of experience in front of camera, and I enjoyed it very much indeed. And then I spent 4 years, believe it or not, in Johannesburg, where my soul halved in size because of the general climate of Johannesburg, of anger and aggression. And while I was there, I was writing books and teaching the guitar in order to keep myself in peanut butter and sugar-free foods. Yes, so that's basically what I've done.
Now, the guitaring people will hopefully see a little bit later, as part of the plan is for James to perform a song later on the show, so that you'll see all about shortly. But the books you wrote, a little bit more on that?
There was a question earlier. I've been part of 3 books. The first one I co-wrote with some other wonderful guides. Firstly, a chap called Chris Roach, who was my original trainer, magnificent naturalist, works for and pretty much runs the ecology side of a company called Wilderness Safaris, which is a huge safari operator now. Then Megan Emmett, who's written various books on nature, and a chap called Dave Hood, who lives in the Eastern Cape now, and he's just completed a tracking app. So some fairly eminent naturalists. And our book was called Whatever You Do, Don't Run. There was a question earlier about a chap called Peter Allison, who also works for Wilderness Safaris. He also wrote a book called Whatever You Do, Don't Run. We were entirely separately doing it. Ours came out first, of course. And he mistakenly called his book the same thing, because it's a quintessential thing that guides say to their guests, especially when you go out on foot. And the last thing you tell them before you go out is, if we should surprise an animal, whatever you do, don't run. Because you don't want to run away from animals. We're not even faster than the Franklins out here. Then the other 2 were fiction, were novels based on my experiences at 5-star game lodges. So people often ask around the Boma fire, like we're sitting like this, or around the dinner table, tell us about what goes on behind the scenes. Because the 5-star game lodge is the front of house, which is the beautifully manicured and perfect sort of environment, and behind the scenes we are in Africa and we're in the bush, and so there's often complete chaos going on in an area where the guests have no idea. And so the stories are amusing anecdotes and stories about what goes on in the very real life of the 5-star game lodge industry in this area. So that's what they were about.
James, we have a very specific question for you from Donna in South Carolina.
Hello, Donna in South Carolina.
She would like to know whether you've ever done stand-up comedy.
Donna, I haven't ever done stand-up comedy.
Thankfully.
I don't think I'm that funny, really. Not like Brent.
So, thanks very much for that, James. Just to give us a little bit of a rundown of where you're from, and guys, you're going to get a chance to know James much better over the coming months. But we're just going to move on to the highlights of the week for all of us. And James briefly mentioned his highlight there with the wild dog barking at the lions. And Scotty, your highlights for the last while?
My highlight was certainly the time spent with Shadow and Sindile, her 8-month-old male cub. And we got really lucky. Got a call on the radio from Lee, who's busy training some students actually from America, and he said he had found the leopard. It had been chased up a tree by 2 hyenas, and as we were about to approach the sighting, our radio stopped working. Now, we knew we were close to him, but he was in the middle of the bush in a vague area that we knew of, so we stopped, revved the engine, and he revved his engine back. We were communicating through engine revs, and we thankfully managed to find him and the leopard. And we had been there about 10 seconds before all of you came on board with us, and we got to see him contact calling, which was really interesting because we weren't sure whether he was contact calling in response to his mother or in fact maybe calling in aggression or frustration to the two hyena that were lying below. And as soon as he stood up and started coming down from the marula tree, we kind of pieced together the puzzle and realized that his mother must have been nearby for him to take the risk of coming down the tree with the hyena nearby. He surprisingly didn't get their attention because it was a very unglamorous kind of dismount from the tree, you could say, and he jumped onto one small tree with all four legs wrapped around it, and then somehow clambered down, scuttled off without the hyena knowing, and in about a few minutes he reunited with his mother, which was absolutely incredible to see. We saw her lying on a stump before he actually got to her, and then were able to stop the vehicle, zoom in on the whole reunite, and from there we followed them for about a couple of miles, and then she started growling at him quite aggressively, and that was obviously her signal for him to now leave her alone so that she can continue hunting. Now, in that period of time where they were on the move, they were really playful, and we got to see some incredible interaction, which we would actually like to show you. There will be a very short highlight of the mother and the cub playing around. There's no audio on the clip, but the footage you see is really great. So in the next few seconds, enjoy the clip, and we will see you afterwards. Kind of interaction.
I won't lie, I'm a little bit jealous. I am a little bit jealous.
But let me remind you, Brent, that the last time that I saw that cub was probably 3 months before. So it was a long time that I'd seen that cub. It's probably doubled in size since I last saw it. The last time I saw it, like I said, it was probably half the size, and it was nestled up in a knobthorn tree, hiding from some hyena that had been attracted to the same tree that it was in, because there was also an impala dangling in that tree that Shadow had managed to catch. But now we're seeing more of them, which is great. And even this morning we got to follow Shadow again. We just missed him after again she told him to stay put after being on the move with him. But yeah, that's certainly been my highlights. And speaking of jealousy, Brent, while I was on leave, was the first presenter in 7 months to find a serval.
Well, I was very, very lucky. We were actually looking for Shadow that day. We were on our Arathusa. Brian and I were just moseying along. On Wild Earth, was killed by Shadow.
Exactly.
It was very unpleasant of Shadow to have killed the servant.
But no, it's been a bit slow this last week or so. So it has picked up today. We've been very lucky. We've had 2 cat sightings this morning, but yeah, definitely has been a little bit slow. But that's the bush. It changes every day.
It's been slow, but it's been, especially for somebody who's come in here for the first week, and I've been back in the city for a while, and I was up north of Palabora, which is an entirely forgettable town, just north of where we are now. In fact, don't ever go there, forget I mentioned it. But it's been wonderful to be back in the wild again, and we forget, I think, we come into these areas, and especially if we work at these high-pressure lodges where we need to find animals for people who've spent a lot of money to come out here and see what we have to offer. The time and a place like this where there is space, where there is silence, and where there's just a feeling of wilderness is just wonderful. And so I think we get very caught up with trying to find big animals and trying to find, and it's certainly very pressurized with the camera on the back of your car and to try and show people the incredible wonders that this place has to offer. But for me, one of the great highlights of this week has been being back in a place where I can't hear any cars, and I can't hear cowbells dingling or children crying or dogs barking. And so I hope that you are able to pick some of that up as we go through our drives, because it's a real privilege to have that sort of thing.
So we have a question. I think, Scotty, you can take this one. It's from Matthew, who's 9 years old, from the Dayton Hospital. Matthew would like to know, why did the mommy leopard leave her baby by itself? Won't he get afraid of the dark?
Well, hello Matthew, and welcome to the campfire with us. You've asked a very, very good question. Now, a lot of people will wonder, why would a mother leave its young cub alone? The answer to your question, Matthew, is that they need to feed their cubs. So without going off and leaving the cub alone, they won't be able to get any food. Now, the reason why they won't be able to get any food if the cub comes along is because he's still so playful and clumsy and still needs to learn about hunting. So by him being with her, he may ruin the opportunity and chase off animals before she gets a chance to catch them. So thankfully though, for leopards, they learn from a very, very young age, just from a month or so, to climb up trees. And what that means is that it doesn't matter what animal comes across them, they'll always be able to climb up a tree, and nothing should be able to give them any trouble once they're up there. The lions can't climb trees, the hyena can't climb trees, and those are the two main animals that will kill baby leopards. It is a very good question, and it just goes to show how clever those little cubs are and how tough and brave they are, because they do get left all alone in the scary place day and night. So thank you very much for sending through that question, Maddie, and hopefully we'll be able to find him in the morning just to show you that he's still okay. But he's been around for 8 months now, so he's well on the road to adulthood.
So James, the next one is from Lily, also from Dayton, and she wants to know, how and what do you use 11 years old, and she wants to know, how and what do you use to wash your hands because you keep picking up so much poop?
Lily, normally I lick my hands. No, I don't. Hygiene is obviously very important. All I do, you must remember that I don't pick up carnivore dung, so any of the dung that comes out of a cat or a dog or something like that, which smells really bad. And I don't know if you've ever smelt, maybe where you're in America, cow dung or horse dung. It doesn't smell great when it's fresh, but after an hour or so it doesn't smell of anything at all. And it's just grass. It's just grass or leaves and a few bacteria that come from the stomach of an animal, and we know that those bacteria don't harm us at all. It's very unlike the dung of a carnivore or even a primate like us, which dung tends to carry a lot more toxic material in it, or poisonous stuff, and the dung of a herbivore is really not that poisonous. In fact, it's not poisonous at all. In fact, there's a game in South Africa which some people like to play called Bok Drol Spoeg, which basically means antelope dung spitting competition, where people will take the small pellets from something like an impala, plop them in their mouths, and then spit them, and the person who can spit them the furthest is the winner. And that just goes to show that the herbivore poo is not in fact a danger to us at all. I am quite careful though when I have fiddled with the stuff not to put my hands in my mouth, although it wouldn't be a problem if I did. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, well, we've just got another question through from Gail in Calgary. Good evening, Gail, and welcome on board. This one, I think Brent needs to answer, because it's his fault that we're not finding K and Q, Quarantine and Djuma, two leopard brothers. What are your thoughts on why we're not seeing them as much anymore?
Well, Gail, thanks very much. It's a really good question. Gail, we were incredibly spoilt with those two boys. We were sort of at the right time when they were big enough to do a lot of their own hunting. They were obviously independent from their mother, but the core of their territories was very small, and we were very lucky to be in the core of both of their territories, so we were lucky enough to bump into them a lot. Now, as they've got a bit older, I think, what are they now, 29, 30 months old, it's possible that Mvula, who's the dominant male in this area, has started putting more pressure on them to move out. And I think the last time they were seen was just to the south of us, about 2.5 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, when they actually shared a kill. I really wish I could have been there to see that. But since then, I've even spoken to the other guys. No one has seen them. So the reason we're not seeing them, it is their time. They have decided now, or they haven't decided, they've been pushed into trying to find their own territory. And male leopards, I think the furthest record I know about from South Africa was there was a male leopard in northern Zululand who, once reaching independence, moved over 300 kilometers before he set up a territory. So it is possible that they might stay close by, but it is also possible that they might move completely away from here, and that's also to stop with inbreeding with their sort of sisters and mothers and whatnot. So it is very sad. There is a possibility we might see them again, but if we do, I think it'll be very brief, and I think their time has come to go find their own way in the wild. Thanks very much for that, Gail.
I personally think we will see them again, though.
We have an argument about this. We have a discussion.
I don't think it's time to say goodbye to them yet, because we have had tracks of what look to be young male leopard. It's getting difficult now because their feet are getting just as big as dominant males would be, just in there and thereabouts. But I still think there have been tracks of them lurking through our property. We just haven't been lucky enough to find them.
Could be Bahuti.
It could be Bahuti, which is another young male.
So, I don't know.
But Brent and I will basically have a competition, and James is obviously involved as well. I personally think we're going to see them. Obviously, James hasn't been around for as long as we have, so he's got less insight into the matter at this stage. But I guess from your experience, young male leopards, what ages have you, any variances in ages they've been kicked out of home?
I'd say anything from 2 years they'll move away, but I mean, some of them will stay until they're 4. Yeah. And so it really doesn't, there's no way of telling. So I wouldn't bet on either of you right now.
Good. Yeah, that's interesting. 2 to 4 years. So I guess they've been lucky. They've been able to stay a few months extra regarding the minimum time that they could spend in their mother's territory.
So I just wanted to add one more thing about that question about the darkness of the leopards and leaving the cub. I think it was to Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew, you must remember that the cats here are able to see far better than we can at night time. So what looks like darkness to you and me is actually more probably like a dim twilight, or that sort of time of the day when the sun's just gone down. That's what it looks like to them. So it doesn't look like it does for you when they switch the lights off and you can't see anything anymore. So that's quite important for you to understand.
We're going to take another question from Gracie, who is 7 years old. Hi Gracie, welcome. Really nice to have you with us. Gracie would like to know, do we swim in the water holes here? Well, I think we can all say an emphatic no. No, definitely not.
We don't.
It's tempting though, Gracie. It's very tempting because it gets so hot during our summer, and you can see the animals swimming, the buffalo and the rhino, elephants. A lot of the animals, even hyena, will swim into the water to relax and keep cool. But the reason why we can't is because there are 2 different animals, mainly one though, that don't like us swimming in their ponds. One of which is the hippo. But the more dangerous animal than that is a crocodile. And Brent will probably be able to tell you why they're more dangerous than the hippos.
Well, it's one of the few animals that actually we are included naturally in their diet. Lions are dangerous at night, but during the day they'll run away from you. Whereas a crocodile will eat you every time if you're swimming around there. And I'm quite fond of my legs. But thanks very much for that, Gracie. We're going to hand over to James, who's got something special for all the kids at Dayton. So guys, I hope you really enjoy this. This is just for you.
So I'm going to sing you a little song now, and this song was written by a great South African called Johnny Clegg, and it's about warriors. And you kids there in the Dayton ward are little warriors of the world. And The song is about the great big African sky and the strength that the African sky will give us and gives us every day. And it's about these warriors who have to go off from where they've lived in a place like this and go off to the city and live underground, where they have to think about the sky for their inspiration. And so this little song is about the warriors of Dayton and the warriors of Africa, and I hope that you will draw some strength from the amazing African sky that we try and show you every day. It's called African Sky Blue. Sky blue, your children wait for the dawn. African sky blue, soon a new day will be born. African sky blue, African sky blue, will you bless my life? Oh, will you bless my life? Oh, will you bless my life? I know, what can I dream, what can I sing, what will the future bring? Oh, you shine through me, but will you see me through? African sky blue, will you see me through? African thunderstorm, your soldiers march through the air. The African rain will fall and wipe away all my tears. African fallen rain, African sky blue, will you bless my life? Oh, will you bless my life? Oh, will you bless my life? Oh, will you bless my life? His war is underground, with cordite in the darkness, he makes the bleeding veins of gold. When the smoking rock face murmurs, he only thinks of you. African sky blue, will you see me through?
Bravo!
Well done, Mr. Henry.
Thank goodness James can sing, because if Scott and I started singing, you would both log off immediately. Everyone would disappear.
And obviously play the guitar too. It's two things that we can't do.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that.
Thanks very much, James. Guys, we really are hoping and pulling through for you guys there in Dayton. Keep watching us. We really appreciate the fact that you do. It's very, very special to be able to just do something little for you guys. So thanks very much, and I hope you guys keep watching.
Yes, and keep sending us questions. Send us as many questions as you can, and we'll do our best to answer all of them, because it's often all your questions from people young and old, but especially youngsters, that keep us thinking. So please, everyone, send through questions and join us on the drives, and that way we can help cater for you and craft the safari just for you guys and try and find certain animals for you.
And just remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Any question is a good question. There are many stupid answers, of course, to questions, but there are no stupid questions. So please, anything you want to know, send them through. We'll try and answer them to the best of our ability.
Now for a little bit of fun, due to some comments made earlier in the week by me, there's a request for a height comparison for the three of us. We're all sitting at the moment.
It's a very fair comparison at all. Like.
You've got to show off with your guitar now. We make up with our height.
So if we all stand next to each other, so we're actually all in height. There we go. There you can see James is actually the tallest out of everyone. So there we go.
Very tall.
It's actually kind of a perfect.
It is. It's sort of we just step down.
Yeah.
Or step up.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, there we go.
It's enough credit for Brent.
Well, from all of us here at Wild Earth, thank you so much for joining us at the campfire tonight and also on the drive, and we all look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And thanks very much to Andrew on camera and to Nikki and Eugene in final control.
Cheers everyone. Hope to see you on the Sunrise Safari.